Hey, this is Drew Haskins, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is Steve Bowtie Bryant here. Back in the 90s, I was a pro wrestling photographer for the South, and I released what might have been one of the original sets of indie trading cards. I ran across some of these original sets. They were up in Randall Fanning's attic all this time. PG-13 rookie card, Ricky Morton, George Weingroff as the Sheik, Chris Champion, Reno Riggins, Billy Montana, Gary Valiant, the Scorpion, the Medic, Rick Reynolds, Jeff Daniels, Mephisto and Dante, Ben Jordan, Steve Neely, Marcus Woodrow, Quinton Quarisma, Little Farmer John. If you'd like an opportunity to get these cards, contact me now. You can get them for only $49.99. Contact me at stevebowtiebryant at iCloud.com. Get your set now while supplies last.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know, now you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared, Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. And I'm here, as always, with my brother from the same father and mother, the Plastic Sheik, Jared Street. Sheik, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, brother. How are you doing?
Man, just hanging in there doing podcast stuff, you know. Very excited about today's show. I guess everybody read it on the introduction there, but we have Drew Haskins, my former I got to manage my former
clientele, but I don't know.
Yeah, he was one of the former members of the Street Corporation. So anyway, love Drew to death. Great guy. What a talented pro wrestler too, man. We'll get into all that, but very excited to have Drew on today. What do you know about Drew?
I mean, I know a little bit, hearing it from you, and of course, and a lot of the wrestlers we've had on in the past. And, I know him and Plunkett work together a lot. And, I'm excited to hear it and, kind of put some of those stories together. That's what I try to do when I'm learning about these guys. I try to put some of the stories I've heard from others and like a sandwich or something, put them together and hear about them. So it's a fun time. I don't know if a sandwich was the right analogy, but whatever.
It'll work.
You're putting together something, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously our last episode, we got to talk about that real quick. Greg Hahn from Every Single Muscle. What a lot of fun, man. That was a step outside of the ordinary, but had a really good time with him and learned a lot, and very excited to see your collection grow, Jared.
A bit of a passion project for both of us. We love the muscle line growing up. We honestly never referred to them as muscle, as I said in the interview. So that's all right, though. No problem.
Yeah.
I've learned so much from his channel and from the interview about the line that it's like, wow, kind of been cool to know some of this stuff as a kid, but we had just as much fun anyway.
Yeah, we were making it up as we went anyway. So
there you go.
Well, thank you again, Greg. Glad we made that happen. We'll have to figure out a way to squeeze you back on a show sometime down the line. But today, obviously, what just happened last weekend was not just Easter and the risen Savior, but WrestleMania happened. Sheik, what'd you think about WrestleMania, man?
Overall, pretty good show. I don't know that it's going to go down as like one of the all-time great WrestleManias or anything like that. If I'm being honest, nothing at all really wrong with the show. Some good spots as far as like the Joe Hendry coming out to face Randy Orton. That was a good little pop moment. It was a short match, and some people say Joe Hendry got squashed, and while I see that, he he was on the biggest stage and getting his name out there more. I see him with the WWE when his contract expires with TNA. I could be wrong, but I see him there. So I think that's just a kind of a step in the right direction for him. Love the triple threat, Roman, Seth, and Punk. That was a good match. And, Cody and Cena was a good match. Was it an epic all-time classic? No, but I think, me and you talked about it. Cena's lost a step or two.
Yeah.
And it shows that he's been out of the ring for mostly just here and there spots for the last couple of years. So,
yeah, it's a weird thing because, Cody and Cena, it's like if you'd have had Cena from 10 years ago, but Cody from now, that might have been a better matchup. But I guess it's understandable that you do, but I don't know, man. It makes you kind of question, like, okay, well, as off as Cena kind of seemed a little bit in that match, I'm like, is he actually good enough to still carry the title? Is that crazy? I know his name is huge, but
I guess the good thing about it is most of the guys at the top of the line that'll be challenging him for the title are going to be able to carry him a little bit, and not carry him like that he can't do anything, but they can be a ring general kind of sorts for him. I see Cody probably challenging him again at some point. Obviously I think Randy Orton on Raw kind of announced he wants him first or something like that, basically with a RKO out of nowhere. So
he claimed that pretty much immediately. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, I think I think of all the wrestlers, I would have preferred maybe Randy Orton to be the 17-time guy, but I don't know, because Randy seems like he's going to be a lifer. He's dipped his toe in some acting before, but never to the scale that Cena or The Rock has. I'm a little disappointed. Speaking of The Rock, I'm a little disappointed that he wasn't at Mania. And that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Was there?
I don't know what he would have. I don't know what he would have done, but I don't know. Yeah. If he's part of the storyline, the overseeing boss, the Mr. McMahon of this time, kind of basically, why is he not? I don't know. What was Travis Scott going to do?
He's a little weasel. Like he's tiny. First of all, he looks like he couldn't crush a grape. So I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah. It was just funny to see how much they could pick him up on the rope so quickly. He was up on the apron, and it was okay. I really personally think the match of the weekend was Punk and Reigns and Seth Rollins. And to neither of our surprise, Paul Heyman screwed both of his guys over, but I thought that match actually held me watching, held my attention best, But there were some good matches all around. Obviously, Jey Uso goes over, beats Gunther. I kind of figured that would happen. And when Gunther lost, I kind of figured Cena would win, even though I don't know, but whatever. But I feel like everybody was represented, pretty well that could have been. And I thought it was amazing. Michelle and I were in Vegas last February, and it was packed then. And I cannot imagine throwing 100,000 more people there.
And they also had WrestleCon, and they had a lot of other stuff out there too, didn't they? They usually, some smaller organizations usually run shows near Mania. So
yeah. And speaking of Mania weekend and stuff, obviously the Hall of Fame, I know Lex Luger, congratulations to Lex. We're talking as Horseman country people here, but we got to say, congrats to Ivan Koloff. That was cool to see. Yeah. And I could have sworn, I think it's almost like a Mandela effect, but I could have sworn that they had already put him in the legacy thing, but I don't know. I don't know if it's Mandela effect or my brain is going Swiss cheese or something, but anyway.
Maybe both. I don't know. I felt like he would have probably already been in too. I can't figure out why he wasn't in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But what would you grade the show overall? What would you grade it?
I guess cliche, but probably a B to B plus, somewhere in there. Like I said, it's not going to go down as one of the all-time great Manias, but I think maybe. I saw somebody post, and I can't remember who, that that Raw was better than Mania, and it's such a spectacle, Mania is. Maybe that's the case. I mean, but Mania set up the storylines that they were doing on Raw. So
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, I think probably you're right. B+, B. I mean, like I said, I think the Punk match was probably the best.
LA Knight Jacob Fatu was a pretty good match.
Was a good match. I mean, I would be questionable Jacob Fatu licking that belt after how Logan Paul wore it in the shower.
That might be a different belt, hopefully.
Probably. Let's hope. But anyway, yeah. But, kudos to all the guys who did a great job. And, thank you for entertaining us as you do. And we appreciate that, But as far as entertainment goes, you can't get much more entertaining than the teenage sensation, Drew Haskins. So you ready to get Drew on the show?
Let's get him going, man.
I think it might be untouchable.
It very well could be.
We'll be right back with Drew Haskins and more from Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling after these messages.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
This is Kroll, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling with Jimmy Street and Jarrett the Plastic Sheik. Be sure to like, subscribe, and view all of our USWO and SAW wrestling content at Nashville Wrestling Network, exclusively on YouTube.
Hi, this is Mike Needham, host of the Reckless Abandon Podcast with Mike Needham. We invite you to jump on your favorite podcast platform and search for the Reckless Abandon Podcast and give us a listen. I'm sometimes joined by a part-time podcaster, part-time co-host, and full-time wife, Tiffany Nicole. We talk wrestling, we talk pop culture, we talk local events, local happenings in West Tennessee, and a ton of other stuff. But be sure to check out the Reckless Abandon Podcast. Find us on Facebook. Also, look up the Microgroup Podcasting family on Facebook and see some of our other podcasts we have out there. Until next time, make good choices and always remember, no dollar, no dice.
All right, we are back with one more excellent episode of Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. Here as always with the Plastic Sheik, but today, Jared, I'm so excited. We've got an incredible guest. I tell you, so when I think of my time in the business, and I know everybody's tired of hearing this, I think of the one or two guys that I truly got to manage and truly enjoyed my time with. And the two guys at the top of my list are Jeremiah Plunkett. We all know that. And this guest today, Drew Haskins. Drew, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm so excited to be on. Longtime fan. I'm really enjoying this. Looking forward to it.
Well, it's a ditto, man. I'm a longtime fan of you, bro. So
I can't believe it's been 10 years since I've seen you.
It has, bro. I know.
I'm just thinking of that 10 years. I only wrestled for 8 years.
Wow.
And it's been 10 years since I've been inside a ring.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Yeah.
It feels like you've wrestled so much longer than that, though. But yeah, we'll get into that. But anyway, well, welcome to the show. Welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. Man, it's great to see you. You're looking great. I'm so happy you're doing well in your life and choices of life. You know, that's the other thing. But we'll get into that as well. But we always start off every episode with the Plastic Sheik's favorite question. Take it, Sheik.
All right, Drew. So this is going to let the audience and us get to know you a little better with as far as your wrestling history. If you had a Mount Rushmore, like 4 or 5 guys that you either like to watch, like to work with, or whatever, who's that Mount Rushmore? 4 or 5 names.
The Mount Rushmore would be Terry Funk would be on there. I would put Nick Bockwinkel.
Oh.
He's one of my favorites. Bret Hart would be my third one. And my fourth one, who would it be? I mean, I might just put Dory up there. Terry Dory, have the brothers in, and then throw in Nick Bockwinkel and Bret Hart.
Dude.
So.
Yeah, that really
fifth, Randy Savage. That was my fifth. Oh, yeah. You got to have Macho Man up there.
Yeah.
What a list.
Yeah. Actually, I can see a lot of your work in all those guys. I know, there's some influences there, and I know you actually got to meet and hang out with Dory Funk too. So that was cool, man.
I did. And I got to get a rub from Dory even through working with Tully.
Yeah.
My time with Tully. He was the one who showed me how to do the European uppercut.
Yeah.
That Dory would do, and showed me, how to practice it, how to do it on walls and doors, and it really showed me the way that Dory would do it. A lot of guys do it differently. Some guys go in up higher with the bicep, but to really throw in the elbow and hit them with the meat of the arm. So that was really neat. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very cool, man. Very, 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 very cool. Well, as we come back from the Mount Rushmore, we wrap it all the way back to our guest of the show today, Mr. Drew Haskins. Drew, tell us about your younger days. Where were you born? Stuff like that. Talk about that.
Sure. Yes. So I was born in Hendersonville, Tennessee, about 15 minutes north of Nashville. Just childhood was simple. Grew up in a suburb. Started getting into pro wrestling. One of my earliest memories was living at my grandparents' house. And I remember going down, found my Uncle Donnie was watching television. I remember seeing this guy with blue and white and probably like red face paint. And he went from one end of the ring, ran across and jumped up and just nailed this other guy in the corner. And that was my first introduction to watching Sting in WCW. And that's like my earliest memory that I have is watching pro wrestling. So.
Dude, that is awesome. And what did you say? How old were you roughly?
I don't even know. Probably about 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. Probably 4 or 5, really. So this was Bleach Blonde Sting. So
yes, Surfer, baby.
Exactly, Surfer Sting.
Yeah, I love it.
So tell us about your start in wrestling, who trained you, first match you ever had, what promotion that might have been for, stuff like that.
Sure. And I'll go and give the long story. So, and the short answer is Reno Riggins ended up training me. He was a great hand and a really solid pro wrestler. One half of the Tennessee Vols with his partner Stephen Dunn, and he ended up training me. To get to that point, though, I became obsessed with pro wrestling probably around 12, 13 years old. And through and I gravitated towards one style. The ROH and TNA were kind of coming along the scenes, and I really was digging. I was getting access to a lot of Japan. This in the early days where internet was starting to get out there more, and you could watch, New Japan, All Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah later on. Michinoku Pro, all those. And I was really getting into that style. And I was thinking, man, I'm going to go Ring of Honor open to school. Let me go out there and check it out. Well, sure enough, I did what pro wrestlers should not do. Is you don't fall in love with somebody because they will rob you from the business. And so I was like, well, maybe I could. She's not going to move. So let me see if I can stay here. So I ended up calling around. And I actually found an old website. I can't remember who it was advertising, but I called the number. I spoke to Steve Dahl. Steve Dahl was in the hospital at the time. I think he had some type of infection.
Right.
He had a lot of sicknesses towards the end of his life. And he's like, man, I'd love to. It sounds like you got a good pedigree to you. But he gave me Reno's number. And ended up going out to Millersville, Tennessee in around 07. Yeah, it was probably 2007. And we trained up there in Millersville, Tennessee at the Sawmill. And I know the listeners are familiar with that. We just started training up there. I think I went up there around June, July. I think it was June. I think it was right before the Chris Benoit murder, double murder suicide went down. And he was my favorite pro wrestler.
Yeah.
He was absolutely my favorite. And then I remember I was on vacation with who's now my wife's side of the family, spoiler alert. And then that was when the double murder suicide happened with Chris Benoit right there in July of 07. And came back. We started training that August until I had my first match. I think February 4th of 2008. So about 6 months of training Lots of Hindu squats.
Lots of Hindu squats.
Yes.
Hey, man, I think everybody should do Hindu squats, even in real life.
Just if you haven't done it, just try it. Just I can do 100. Just do 100. Do 100.
Knock 100 out. I tell you what, if I can knock 5 out, we'll be lucky. But anyway,
have you heard a story about Undertaker talking about Iron Sheik doing them
No,
at 2 a.m. on they were rooming together in a hotel. And he was out on the balcony with the balcony open. It was cold, and he was out there doing Hindu squats, just pouring.
I'm sure rocking a Speedo too. Yeah,
oh, I'm sure he was.
Give me hell yeah!
It's a good story.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, okay, so were there any other names you thought about using when you first started?
My goodness, yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, just full disclosure, they're all garbage. For some reason, I like the name Brian Abner. I have no idea. I can't remember why the Abner name, but I think I heard it. I was like, I like that.
Okay.
That could be B.A. Brian Abner.
Yeah.
And then, for some reason, this is how much of a throwback. I was watching Ronnie Garvin, and I was like, I could do a Garvin thing. And, and we kind of talked about that even when I was first starting. But eventually, it was seconds before we started filming for my first interview with SAW TV.
Okay.
And that was my start, was wrestling with SAW Wrestling. And it's myself, Timmy was there, Paul Adams, Reno, and we're like, all right, what name are we going to do? And Reno said, there's only one person you want to make famous. I said, all right. Drew Haskins here, ladies and gentlemen. So the rest is history.
Dude, that's huge, man. Such great advice. Y'all write that down out there. That's going to be in the test later on. So, yeah. How did you feel when they told you that you were turning heel?
I really don't even remember. I think I was excited to be having something. Okay. I think I needed something to stretch out. I would not be who I am today. I probably my whole style shifted thanks to me getting to turn heel and join with Derek King Enterprises. Was the group that I did it with, and I wouldn't be who I am, the wrestler that I became, without Paul Adams' vision and Derek King's mentorship. If that never happened, I think and even then, I would say that was the bigger moment. I think in Colombia, we tried it out a few times.
Okay.
Just to see how it would work. And eventually, somewhere along the way, I think Paul just kind of saw something and said, let's take this and really start to push and help develop Drew out. So that's all Paul Adams.
Yeah. What a smart guy he was. Talk about Paul for a second, man. Put him over for a minute.
R.I.P. Paul Adams. That's one of my two biggest regrets was not being there for when they did the Paul Memorial. I think it was on a Sunday, and I found out the day of, hours before.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to make it. And the other being Bert Prentice, who's also a big influence and shaper for many of us. Yeah. So Paul Adams, the towel boy from New York, it's hard to think about. When you think about what goes, unless you know what goes into a product, you don't probably understand what this guy went through to put on not only television, but house shows as well, develop characters, book, lay out storylines, deal with the politics, and just all the rivalry with how oversaturated Nashville wrestling was at that time. But Paul Adams, one of the things that I would do is I would go and we would meet, and we would get a studio, and we would record these vidcast things before there was even video casting.
Yeah.
And we would do those as to sell me as being this kind of teen icon, teen idol. Yeah. On top of everything else. And then saying, hey, when you go out here, do this. Or when we're backstage doing our promotional material or vignettes, even for local house shows, he's like, hey, 1-2 minutes, spit this. And then he would give me longer forms where he said, hey, 5 minutes, these points, and just kind of help guide me along the way.
Yeah.
But also too, I mean, through Paul, I got Rick Santel early on, who was so helpful at the very beginning. John Dillinger, Hammerjack, just those guys, just kind of being right there and getting to work with them was so helpful. So
yeah, definitely, dude. Definitely, man. What a crew you had right there. So let me ask you this then. Was it Paul's idea to put you with Derek King, or was it Derek's idea to bring you in?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Never talked about it. And so the idea was Derek King was coming in as this kind of money mogul.
Mogul.
I don't think Mongol. Yeah, it's a whole other thing.
It's a Mongol was like the Russian.
Yes, exactly right. It was this, just idea of developing talent. But the best thing that happened was there was this guy. What was his name? I can't even remember. Somebody no-showed one night who was part of our group, and next thing you know, I'm getting a tag with Derek King, and the rest was history. And we get to have some amazing matches with guys like Bordell Walker and Wolfie D, and just any tag team that they would put together, bring in, and throw at us. Getting to work with Derek King was just a whole other experience.
Oh, dude. Yeah. He's so talented. He's one of those guys that is good waking up or going. I mean, he's good whenever, he's absolutely talented, just incredibly, What was like one of your favorite memories with Derek?
Oh man. It's just the laughter.
Yeah.
This will be a recurring theme is how much fun we had.
I know.
Like we just had a ton of fun. My favorite memories are just sitting back and either drinking or singing with Derek, and just trying to make him laugh and just all the things. My favorite memories with Derek is just watching him. I'm like, because if you notice who was in my Mount Rushmore, it wasn't Memphis guys.
Right.
Like it just my generation, I think starting with me, we were that first to get the national at a regular basis. And we weren't so dependent on regional wrestling.
Right.
When did Memphis finally go under? Was it 94?
98, 97, something like that.
So that's still a little later, but there's still quite a bit that happened. So, and I never really got the Memphis style. And even to a larger extent, it was, I was playing Memphis.
Yeah.
Until I finally got there. We can talk more about that. But watching Derek, I'm like, this guy's doing something special.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching him. He's taking his time. He's so methodical in the ring. But you hear the reaction and you're like, whatever he's doing is working. And I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Dude, I'll be honest with you about the Memphis stuff. I'm a Memphis adoptee now, man, but I was a Mid-Atlantic kid. So I loved and I loved AWA and WWF, but we were NWA Jim Crockett. But now that I've been doing this Wolfie podcast for 800 years, it feels like now, and that's 800 years. But anyway, I've become a huge fan.
Makes you feel that long.
But I will say this: I've become a huge fan of Memphis, actually. So it came late to me. I love their storytelling and their brawling, but yeah, I can the style of wrestler that you like and I could see you also maybe not enjoying it as much. You know what I'm saying? Because you're saying Nick Bockwinkel and Bret Hart and guys like that. I get it, man. I understand. But you're also going to get a lot of hate for that from our listeners. But it's okay.
But you know what? I tried to do though, and this was a very conscious thing, was I understood there was this Memphis style.
Yeah, and
I knew I could not do the ROH stuff. It wasn't not going to happen in Middle Tennessee.
Sure.
And I remember on earlier podcast callback, so you guys can watch more episodes, get more views. Jeremiah Plunkett was talking about doing a pure wrestling match. I don't even remember the rules to pure wrestling. I just remember you can't punch a guy. That's the thing. And so to think, okay, Nick Bockwinkel came into the territory and did great with Jerry Lawler. Terry Funk went to the territory, did great with Jerry Lawler. Randy Savage was kind of on the outskirts of the Memphis territory with his family, with Lanny and Angelo, and did great. But also nobody would look at Randy Savage and go, that guy's a Memphis guy.
Right.
And so a lot of that was more self-conscious on my end to think, how can I be different and work within the system to create the best me possible in this environment. So it was a totally like self-conscious thing that I was doing at that time.
Very smart. I like it. Makes sense too, brother. You've got a good head on your shoulders. I've always said that. I don't care who tells it differently.
So whose idea was it to put Johnny Bandana with you?
Oh, it's probably all Paul Adams. We just can't give enough credit to him.
Yeah.
And like the Johnny Bandana stuff was fun. Because it allowed me to be bigger than and not be the small guy. If you take any singer, their manager, their the person who is doing the finances and the promotional works, they're not at the front. It's the artist who's at the front. And I think in some ways, having Johnny Bandana come alongside and say, wow, Drew's a successful guy. I want to be like him. That allowed me to then be, okay, I'm now perceived as a successful guy that people want to be like. And it helped kind of put me towards the center of things, which I think was helpful. So
definitely. Yeah.
So who were, like early on when you were working, who were some of your favorite people to work with?
Early on, shoot. I loved working with the Boogie Woogie Boy, Gary Valiant. I loved working with him. I loved working with Rick Santel. I loved working with and against Derek King. I had a time where I worked against Derek. I loved working with LT Falk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what? Let's go 100 arm drags. Let's just make the thing happen.
Let's do it.
Matt Sigmund, a guy out of the Knoxville area.
Oh yeah, Heat Seekers.
Oh yeah. So I loved working with him. Christian Hames out of Alabama.
Great worker.
Birmingham, Alabama area. And I think I liked working with guys who were going to work a little bit different. Oh my goodness. And he's later, but two guys I got to mention. Seven, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Like we had 3 matches and I can close my eyes and remember every single one of them. Like we just went out there and just fought. And the people ate it up. And the other one is Josephus. I love wrestling Joseph. R.I.P.
For
I
sure.
miss him.
Dude.
But Josephus was amazing and just had a different way of doing things. I even love wrestling Wolfie D. My first match at the Nashville Fairgrounds was against PG-13.
That's huge, bro.
And I'm in there in penny loafers.
I remember that.
Wrestling against PG-13. And Jamie Dundee leg dives, takes my leg, pulls off the penny loafer, tickles my foot. I'm laughing going out the ring.
Yes.
And the place is erupting. I mean, just the best.
Yeah. We've talked about that before on the podcast. It's funny, man. Yeah. We put you over when we can, brother. You know what I mean?
Except for Plunkett. How many times is he going to mention, except for when Drew left at that time?
Yeah. He's got a little, he's a little
maybe a little hurt there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still fresh, I guess. Let's go.
So in 2009, you started working for USWO Tony Falk. How did that come about?
I think just through wrestling with LT Falk and just saying, hey, we can do a double shot. I was really trying to get as many matches in as possible.
Yeah.
I had enough old school guys around me to say, you got to get out there. And I knew too, in order for me to truly grow, and I think Paul saw this as well, that I was hungry and I was saying, I'm not going to be stuck in this bubble. I'm going to get out there no matter what it's going to take. And LT was an early guy who I think saw that for me to be able to go there. So it would a lot of times be, I would wrestle early on in Millersville and then go down to Nashville and wrestle again on that Friday night. And then later on, as things kind of got more flexible, as things were traveling, it became kind of more competitive thing. Am I going to be in Nashville? Am I going to be in Millersville? Where am I better at for this time? So,
yeah. That's cool, man. That's cool. Well, okay. So in August of 2011, you start working for NWA Main Event and Mike Porter. Talk about getting that gig and start working for Porter and your first meeting Porter.
I can't tell you anything about how that started. I legitimately can't. I could. The wrestler's handshake. Yeah. Like I don't remember anything. Honestly, when I picture Mike Porter, I just picture him behind the concession stands.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
That was his big thing.
Not doing a dang thing else, just behind the concession stand, folding arms, saying, "What's he doing over there? What's that boy doing over there?"
You know what was so fun about working for Mike Porter was, and really just kind of whoever was booking at the time, was I knew I could just kind of express myself. I could try things so differently. I could go out there and have a 30-minute match with Stephen Green. I could go out there and have a 20-minute brawl with Seven, and like really kind of expand everything. And it kind of helped eventually give me an NWA rub.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to happen until they said, okay, we have this Southern Heavyweight Championship. And went out there and wrestled Ace Rockwell. One of my favorite promos I ever did was the shower promo.
Yes.
So you're what we call, I guess, paying homage in that promo to one of your Mount Rushmores.
Oh yeah,
Terry Funk. You got White Castle pouring onion and all
Crystal.
the food.
Chattanooga's home to Crystals.
Yeah, got that Terry Funk Florida Cracker promo.
Exactly.
And I was standing on the other side of the camera when you were filming that. I remember that. I wasn't filming it, but I was watching it as you were filming it. And I was like, this dude's nuts, man. I love it.
Yeah. And when I flipped the shower over, you can see the shower handle fly off the wall and go across camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it was great stuff. Jimmy sent that to me the other day, and I was like, man, this is some great stuff. This is it's just it pays great homage to Terry Funk too, and with that
it does.
I mean, yeah,
and that was part of the thing was like we got the chance to just try things.
Yes,
like how many guys would go, if I did that was on somebody else's television, they might go, oh, that's too Terry. Right. Let's maybe try something different. And it may be a better product, but for that was for me to say this is my love letter to
there you go. There you go.
And say this is it. If you can point to something, that was 100% my love for Terry Funk.
Yeah. So, and dude, you did a great job. And I was like, man, I was like, hold on, man. There's some original stuff coming around here, man. And I was that to me, I will say this, that is one of my favorite memories and it wasn't even anything I did. There was a ladder match that Kevin Weatherby and Stephen Green, and there was a big match that was one of my favorite memories. The other favorite memory is the match you're talking about with Seven, that hardcore match where y'all went nuts all over the building, spilling trash. I was a very green manager standing there just like, do I get out of the way or do I stay? Like, I just wanted to like make sure I was not going to get like in y'all's way.
Yeah.
And what a great match, man.
And I think the match with Seven, what made it so special was I don't think anybody knew if this thing was how it was going to end.
Right.
We just went for it. And then we went all over the place. There's my cat.
What's up, cat? Tiger. Hey, what's up, Tiger? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Exactly.
First cat on the show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, look forward to the comments there. But what made the brawl with Seven so special? I don't think 8 people knew what was going to happen.
Right.
We had no idea what was going to happen.
Right.
We didn't plan any of that. It just happened. We didn't plan the dirty diaper falling out of the trash can. It just happened. And
Dude, by the way, congrats to Seven on his first wrestling show with Music City Pro Wrestling. Get him, big man. Keep running them shows, man. Tear it up. Hope y'all do well. We'll have to keep following that and see how that goes. Hope y'all are doing well. So with Seven, obviously your style of working, had you worked a big dude like that previous to that? I mean, someone who works as stiff as Seven.
Oh yeah, wrestle stiff guys all the time. No, even before Joe, I mean, you would have guys who would try and just lay things in on you. Yeah. And you kind of learn early on. I got to give it back.
Sure.
and some guys say, okay, let's keep it up. Let's keep this intensity going. Seven totally was a whole different thing because he was as brutal and wanted you to be as brutal back. So there was no letting up at all. You had to keep going and you had to keep fighting for it and really fighting just to do something against him, just to stop him. And like, it became a point where, you kind of, for me, because it's not my style, I'm like, man, I'm kind of dreading it. But at the same time, it brings something out of me that otherwise probably would have never been seen. I wouldn't have had. So,
yeah, I just was like, holy cow, this is some great stuff. And it was cool because it got to, you still worked him. You still wrestled, but at the same time, it was taking that stuff that you said you didn't necessarily, it reminded me a lot of Memphis. There was a match that Jerry Lawler and Tommy Dreamer did in that same building. And it was a night show it was a different night show. And I know you were on that card.
Yep.
And I remember them going all over and it reminded me somewhat of them, like a very Memphis type thing to do. I loved it, man.
Yeah. That Tupelo, Mississippi brawl.
Exactly.
Second brawl. It's in all of us. So.
Yeah. Well, you did talk about Stephen Green. And of course, we got to bring up Nick Iggy, but who were some of your favorite opponents at Main Event?
You brought up Nick Iggy, you brought up Stephen Green. Seven was up there.
Will Owens?
I wrestled Will Owens one time.
Oh, okay. I thought you wrestled him more. Yeah. We were on different cards, especially like in the Alabama area. I think even too, like for Bert Prentice. Okay.
But I think at the same time we were both heels, so we really didn't clash that much. So I think that was the only time I was ever in the ring. And I think I think he had a bum leg.
Oh, that's right. I just remember they were trying to get him up there to drop the title to one of you guys. I remember it was like Iggy, you, Seven, somebody was going to get the belt, but it was getting Will up there. And Aaron was going crazy trying to get him up there. And I remember one night he finally got him, and I think Iggy won the belt. I think, right? Because you had won the title from
I won the title from Ace Rockwell.
Right. And I mixed that up on the Aaron show, but he corrected me on that. You won the title from Ace, and Nick won it from Will, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the Mid-American title, and you were the Southern, wasn't it? What were you?
I was the Southern Heavyweight Champ.
That's right. Southern Heavyweight Champ. Anyway, man, we had a lot of fun there, dude. It was fun, man. I remember those Main Event days with a lot of, honestly, it was so, I was in a gimmick that I was the whitest Sheik ever. And you're coming from, here's the thing, Drew, you're coming from working with arguably the greatest manager of all time in Middle Tennessee history. And you're seeing this goofy kid who don't know from Shinola, and he's wearing a turban, and literally, like, I'm sure you were like, holy crap, what is going on here? I realize you're probably not focused on what I was doing as much, but I understand that. But what I'm saying is I'm sure it was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't all up to the same level as Paul here, but anyway, no comment.
No comment. No, that's just not what Mike Porter was doing, right. Honestly, Mike Porter's place was a place for a white Sheik to shine.
Yes.
Mike Porter's was a place for Seven to shine.
Right.
That's the thing. Like, just if we just won the opportunity, and man, when it comes to it, that's what I wanted. It's what I was traveling for. Clearly none of us were at the dance. We were just happy to be invited to a ballroom,
Sure.
And that's what it is. We're watching the biggest thing, but we're watching from a movie theater, we're being simulcast in, and we're participating, we're dancing, we're singing along, but we're doing our thing in our room,
Yeah.
And that's what Main Event was. It was a place for us in our room to have fun. And that's exactly what we did. And, it was the same way it was there, whether it's in Knoxville, Alabama, Evansville, Indiana, Memphis, Georgia, anywhere where I could wrestle, or for you, the same thing, anywhere where you could go and say, man, that's a night to do it again.
Yeah.
Let's go out there and do it again. Can we make them stand up? Can we make them, get upset? Can we make their small guy be the hometown hero tonight? Or can we knock down their giant? And that's exactly what we did every time. So
definitely. The one thing that I remember about you, is, I never understood the whole you can't work in both places, right? And and this is a thing that I've learned on this podcast that happened way, way before my little time in the business. This was going on with Porter, Bert, and Tony and all them well before I even touched the Nashville scene. But I remember that look you would give me, and I would be like, okay. I was like, all right, dude, I want to work at Tony Falk's, obviously. I said, how do you do it? And you would just give me this side look like, I don't know, you just do it. Like,
exactly.
That you weren't like saying, like, there wasn't really like a magic trick to it. You just got out there and you just did it,
Yeah.
And so I always thought that was cool that you were able to be one of those guys that got to work all those places,
Right. And I'm very fortunate, and I had a great relationship with Bert Prentice. I was never a Bert guy.
Right. Right.
I think contrary to people's belief, I was never a Bert Prentice guy, but Bert used me.
Sure.
And Bert, if Bert had something, he'd call me and say, "Hey, can you do this?" Absolutely. Let me see. If I can, let's make it work. Same thing too. Can't do it. And that was just kind of it. So part of my thing too that maybe helped, maybe hurt, was I wasn't trying to depend on Bert Prentice or Mike Porter or Bill DeShields or Tony Falk or Paul Adams to try and get me booked. I was going to go out there and get booked, and I knew I needed to go out and get booked in as many places and get in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah,
that was my goal.
Yeah, now you did it, bro. You did a great job at it too, man. You were traveling all the time, so yeah.
So in 2012, you got out of wrestling for a little bit. What was your reason for leaving, and what brought you back?
2012. I was listening to the podcast especially with Plunkett, and I'm like, I don't remember. I think I was just ready. I know I had knee surgery at some point while I was wrestling, but that may have been around 2013, 2014.
Yeah, I think so.
I may have just needed a break. I lost my. Can I just say I lost my smile?
Yeah, of course you can.
HBK stuff.
That is a proper use
lost
of
my
that.
Smile. Yeah, I had a horse get sick, and I had to go take care of it.
Yes, that's awesome. Okay, well, now to my favorite part of the podcast, the Untouchables getting together. So, obviously Plunky, we call him the logo here. I just got approval from him. We're going to create a little logo with Plunky in it as our, kind of like the Major League Baseball. I shouldn't be telling this on the air, but whatever. Surprise, whatever. But the Untouchables getting together. You and Plunky, obviously, y'all had been friends for a minute before that, working together. I want to say this before I get you started on talking. I wish I was so much better at that point, because I thank you all immensely for the opportunity to manage you guys, but I was in such a deep, weird, dark place. First of all, I just lost the Omar gimmick. I didn't even know what voice to use. You guys were like a fine-tuned, well-oiled machine, and I was just learning how to ride a bicycle again. And I just wish so much. If I could change many things, I wish I could change. But one of them is I wish I was just been better at the time that y'all were kicking it, because man, y'all were so good. So I guess first start off by talking how y'all got together, and then let's talk some Untouchables.
I think for Plunkett, I think Plunkett ran in one circle and I ran in another until one time you're just kind of sitting down face to face and you're like, oh, we actually laugh at the same thing. We both laugh at the same stupid jokes. So clearly there's something here. And we both like to drink. We both would hang out. And I think, too, we both just kind of discovered a mutual love for certain genres of wrestling. It was diverse. It was Japan. It was old school. It was 80s. It was 70s. And also, too, just realizing, too, we're both hungry and wanting to get out there. And so Jeremiah totally became that guy. So it was friends first and then business second for us, for sure.
Yeah. I just thought y'all were so great, man. And y'all getting together, it was such an incredible, just a combination of, it was like vicious and delicious. Does that make any sense? You had the bruiser who could wrestle and catch as catch can with anybody you want to, but could also knock your teeth out. And then you had this wrestler who was almost like you almost reminded me a little bit of Vega from Street Fighter. Is that weird? You had this almost like Matador style about your ability. You were so smooth, and you had such I don't know, you were just smooth. You just looked like you were born in the ring, man. And you and Plunkett together, it was like, why has this not been already happening? Because y'all fit so perfectly, you know?
Yeah. And I was saying, like, both with Derek King and with Jeremiah Plunkett, those mixed match relationships tag team just allowed us just to operate just on a different level. And with Jeremiah Plunkett, but we had such a familiar bond in other areas where we can say, okay, we're going to do this and it'll work because of who Plunkett is. Like, because Plunkett was the tank in the group, we said, okay, let's situate certain things to make him look like a tank.
Yeah.
And let's do certain things for me to then fly about and do this. Well, how can we put a twist on this thing that the Heart Foundation did? How can we do this thing that the Midnight Express did and make it kind of our own with doing that? So the thing, so like with Jeremiah Plunkett, I mean, he's talked about, I mean, we really did. We had a playlist, and we were just going through it and having code words and saying, hey, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, or let's don't do this, let's flip this. And we would do it, and we eventually got to the point, I mean, we could do it, inside out, reverse, backwards, knock it through. So, and it made wrestling fun. It made it, I don't want to say easy, but it made it to where, like, okay, like, we can get out there and we can do this, and we can do this with anybody. And we had to learn to do it with anybody, because when you're traveling around, you don't know, I'm not watching, local wrestling is so special and so unique. And unless you are in it all the time, you don't know who these characters are. Right. You don't know what they have to go. So for Jeremiah Plunkett and I to go to a place, say, okay, we can do this, and we can totally make this happen, and come in, and establish who we are right away.
Yeah, absolutely. The name, the Untouchables, where'd you come up with that?
Plunkett said it had to do with beer. I don't remember that. It may have come up that way, but honestly, and just the way how my brain works, when I hear Untouchable, I go back to that John Cena line. So you think you're untouchable at the start of Word Life.
Yeah.
And that's where, at least that may not have been where it came from, but that's where my attitude came from. Was to be like, I do think I'm untouchable. And like, we're untouchable.
Yeah.
So try us, and that became like an attitude of who we were, as opposed to any other backstage politics, nefarious, that definitely totally happened. We never got in trouble.
Good.
CHW is continuing the legacy of historic professional wrestling in Tennessee with monthly events at the Armory in Ashland City. CHW owner Mike Green has made it his mission to present the best pro wrestling shows in the Nashville area, and he has been delivering the goods. CHW Wrestling combines all the elements that Tennessee wrestling fans have come to expect. Action, suspense, athleticism, reality, stories, surprises, and excitement, all delivered by the finest professional wrestlers this state has to offer. Follow CHW Pro Wrestling on Facebook for the latest news, announcements, and show dates. And subscribe to Championship Productions on YouTube to see past events like the Ashland City Rumble and the Valentine's Massacre. Fun for the whole family with delicious and affordable concessions on site. Witness the action and excitement of CHW in Ashland City at the Armory. Family Wars, Love and Hate, Championship Gold, A CHW event is everything you're looking for in a night of live entertainment.
So I got to hear something about this story. So in Huntsville, Alabama, you all got promised a free bar tab as part of your pay, but then they withdrew it when they saw how much you all could drink.
That's totally true. Yeah, was that with Daniel Russell?
Not 100% sure on that.
He's now the famous. Go look up on Spotify. One Hand Dan.
Okay.
He made all my wrestling tights too.
Oh, dude.
He also wrestled as Jeff Jameson in SAW.
Okay.
So I through his blessing, affectionately referred to him as Nubby. I know it's probably not politically correct anymore, but his left hand he didn't have all of the phalanges, so it's only he didn't have all of his fingers. So,
well, if you got permission from the person, I think that's
it probably wouldn't work today.
Right.
I get looked when I bring him up because I love the guy so much. He was the first wrestler to stay at my mom's house. So that was back when I was still living at home. He came over, he crashed and stayed the night. But totally true. So that didn't stop us though. We still had it. The worst though was Jeff Jameson, Daniel Russell, who is out there, who deserves a lot of love. I met him through Christian Haim. He would come up through the Alabama guys, through Will Owens and things like that. And the worst was I think he worked at like Budweiser or something like that, some type of processing plant. Okay. Well, he got me this beer as he's like, hey, I give you a place to stay, maybe a little cash, and I'll get you beer. I was like, all right. Well, he got me this beer, and it's like the saltwater IPA, but it was skunked. It was the worst beer I've ever had.
Oh, man.
Love you guys.
Thanks for nothing.
Well, that's what you get for getting free beer in July, and you get it the next day.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, bro.
So was there something else that night about a near riot in a cage match with a taser? Remember anything about that? Is that the night where we were supposed to be the main event? Our main event was so good they sent the other guys back out after us.
Plunkett sent me no. I'm not sure.
Is that what happened? I remember we tried to get you to do the taser. Did it not work that time, or were you late?
It wasn't me. It must have been somebody else. I wasn't in Alabama.
It was Joe. What's his name?
Victor Van Glorious. Yeah,
he's doing like Hollywood now.
He would use the taser. Okay, so it was okay. Yeah, he's doing big things. I like.
Yeah,
Victor.
That's who it was.
Joe.
So, oh man,
difference in us a little bit, but hey, I like Joe.
You guys in suits, y'all look alike.
Yeah, I know, right? Come on,
it's an issue for me.
He had the taser gimmick though.
He had the taser. Yes. I think he was late. I think he went out and shocked him. We're like, Joe, turn around. So, but yeah, that crowd was hot. Our match was so good, had so much fire. They went out there, they grabbed everybody that was still left, said, hey, you guys just go out there and just have like a cage match battle royal. I don't know, just do something. It was awful.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. Oh, man. Okay, well, all right, we're still talking Untouchables here. So I need you to describe in your best abilities Damian Wayne and Lance Erickson's faces when they found out they were putting you guys over for the tag belts at SAW.
I love Damian. And I love Lance, and I wish them nothing but the best. I'm so happy for them, and just can't say enough nice things about them. So, I don't know. The thing about and I was really thinking about this with them, is they were so good because you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
and I think that added to it. Like it's the mixed match thing with Plunkett and I, with Derek and I. It's the same thing too with the guy you're across the ring from.
Yeah,
brother, there's got to be heat, or we ain't doing business.
Right.
I mean, come on. That's the reason why I tagged Plunkett, because we liked each other.
Right.
But there's certain guys didn't get along with, but and I'm not to say we're nice, we're cordial, but I mean. We're not in this to be each other's besties. This is not a frat house,
right?
As people want to make it sound like. The frat house is over here, but this is still the other frat house that you can go to. And there's definitely a rivalry here.
Yeah. So, okay, I got another story here. So there's a story about you guys getting booked down in Athens, Alabama for Alvin Wallace, a name which we've heard a lot on this podcast. And it says it was like a time warp where people were still smoking inside. And apparently Alvin said something about the sole black guy being on the show. He was one of the good ones. And that is Alvin's quote, not me. So anyway, do you remember anything about working for Alvin Wallace?
I remember the name. Didn't he have a son who tried to wrestle too? Did I wrestle his son?
Probably.
I think maybe later on wrestled his son. I can't remember.
Okay.
I think he had like kind of blonde hair.
Okay.
If I remember correct. No, I'm thinking of another promoter.
Okay.
Man, I'm trying. Is Alvin Wallace the place that had the really late show?
Yes, it would run way up.
It would run
into
to
the
like
night.
2 or 3.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And Jamie Dundee said, Alvin, why you run so late? And he says, well, we don't like to let them leave till they've ate breakfast. Yeah.
I don't remember anything about nobody making a comment like that to me. And if I did, man, like, I'm not trying to start a fight, but also too, like, especially if it's like Victor, Joe.
Sure.
There's too many Joes out there.
Right.
There's too many J names that we're mentioning on this podcast.
Right.
Jared, Joe, Jeff,
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah. Cheese and rice, Chris Michaels. So man, and I don't know.
It's the South.
No comment.
Right.
Right. It's the South, but also too, like, man, that's never been a thing for me. Like,
sure.
And
right.
I would hear stuff like that too, like with Derek King, and I'm like I get there's a color difference when you look at our skin,
of course,
and also too, and with everything that's happened from when I left wrestling to now, in terms of what we know, like, like our skin color does go below who we are. There is, like I remember vividly talking with a coworker of mine. I'm a shoot job. That's part of my wrestling habit. And and I remember talking, and like it was myself, a lady who's black, and a lady who's white. And the lady who's white said, "Oh, my plates are expired," and have been for like 3 months now. And the lady who's black is like, "There's no way I would be able to drive like that," knowing that. And she just had this fear, especially too. She's like, what if my husband's driving the car? What's that going to mean? It's just a whole other animal. And that really was like not a moment that woke up for me, but at times, man, I knew who Derek was. I knew who Vincent was. I knew who Jimmy was. I knew who Jeremiah was. It didn't matter, man. Let's go out there. Let's let our talent speak for itself, because we're untouchable.
Exactly.
Get us in the ring, get us on the mic, and just make all the side comments you want.
Right.
Follow this.
You can. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Talk to us about working in Memphis, where they insisted on the Untouchables being babyface.
No memory.
No memory.
Memory.
Yeah.
Well, talk
to us about concussions. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Let's talk about all of the benefits of concussion. Land flat. You got to land heels, elbows, and ass all together.
Tuck the chin, right?
So, exactly. There was something. I'll do my concussion story. Christian Haim. I'm at the Stadium Inn Hotel because Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast is complete until we talk about the Stadium Inn Hotel.
Absolutely.
Of course not.
And Christian Haim gave me my first wrestling concussion. I was on the apron of the ring. We were mid-match, and he gives me like a running single leg drop kick. And I hit, and I'm pulling on the ropes because I don't want to fall complete backwards because I'm not sure the distance between myself and the audience is behind me. So I fall, and I land on the outside of the ring, hit my head, boom. And he comes to get me, and I go, I said, I have no idea where we are. He's like, do you remember the match? He's like, do you remember what's next? I said, no. He walked me through the next 5 minutes of that match and completed it. And I was like, and I told him, I was like, yeah. He's like, can you do this? Yep, I can do that. And got me through the whole rest of the match, made sure I was okay, and that was it. So,
man, wow. Dude, that's crazy. So anyway, in the tag team that you worked in Memphis, they were apparently a black tag team, and that they made you work babyface against them. I don't know, but anyway, that's not important. If you don't remember it, we're good.
We came out with the clan hoods on, and the whole place erupted. I mean, what more do you want me to say to that one?
Nothing at all. All
right.
Yeah, you were baby faces. Never mind. Okay, go ahead. Sheik, ask that next one.
Sorry, give me a second.
I'm sorry.
So back to Memphis. Hopefully you remember this. Maybe Derek King beating a green boy with a kendo stick because he was caught stealing.
So I think too some of these places maybe are around Memphis. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything like that with Derek King specifically.
Okay.
I remember hearing the story and being asked. I think it was Doug Markham was there too.
Okay.
Great referee.
Oh yeah.
And
Love Doug.
yeah, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys did an episode with him.
He's in like top 10, dude. Seriously, he's a real deal. Yeah.
Yeah. He so I don't remember anything like that, man. In terms of like it probably just depend too. It probably depend one, what my attitude was like that day.
Yeah.
2, did I get paid? And 3, how much have I had to drink? Those are probably some of the mitigating factors.
I understand.
I mean, when you're just sitting back, when you're untouchable, you can sit back there, beers, and be like, I don't care.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you, man.
Talk to us about meeting and, talking with Mabel.
Love Mabel. Oh my gosh. R.I.P. Man, I hate pro wrestling.
So many people.
So many guys. I love Mabel. I tried to get him out to go out with us. I just want to know, what would it take to get this guy drunk? And I love going. Well, I don't remember your original question, but
it
I'm
was just meeting Mabel.
I'm going to tell another Mabel story.
Please.
Viscera, Big Daddy V, one half of Men on a Mission.
There you go.
Part of the Ministry of Darkness.
King Mabel.
Just maybe a possible founding member of the NWO. That's for a whole other podcast. I like getting to WrestleMania. I remember it was Derek King and I at the Stadium Inn Hotel in downtown Nashville, Tennessee. We were wrestling Mabel and Rosie, the superhero in training. Roman Reigns' brother. Yeah, we were wrestling them. They were filming stuff too. They were filming stuff to get on Biggest Loser.
Oh, okay.
You remember that show?
Yeah.
And they were filming stuff to get on there and trying to push for it. And I remember that happening backstage. And I remember Derek King coming up to me being like, man, that's a lot of weight behind them. Like he was legit worried they were gonna just absolutely destroy us. And he's like, just one wrong thing happens, man, we're done for. So again, when you're untouchable, you just don't worry about those things. So I think too, man, part of the thing, maybe I didn't worry too much about injuries because I had a shoot job and I had insurance and I knew I was good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's the Ben Jordan method is what we call that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Gary Valiant.
Yeah, Gary Valiant, another one.
So
exactly.
He's
Hammerjack,
man.
Shane Morton.
Until you got a guaranteed contract, keep it going.
Smart.
So, and
that's why those guys have pensions now. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So they're smart dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably was hell working shows, killing yourself, and then going to a shoot job. I'm sure. I have no question that that's the truth. But
oh yeah, I mean, I remember I would go and wrestle somewhere like in Knoxville, Tennessee, or something like that. And I would go there and drive all the way back. I would be in the parking lot of where I was working, and I would just take a nap there before I start my 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. shift or something like that. The worst was going to Charlotte. I did a lot in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I've heard
and I remember driving back through there, and we had wrestled in Nashville like Saturday night. We wrestling in Charlotte. It was like myself, Chase, Johnny Bandana. Like something happened, and I left early and went up there. we did their convention. I forget the guy who was running the convention then in Charlotte. It was for an NWA like fan fest.
Oh yeah,
something like that. Tully was there. A lot of other guys. They would have matches. Adam Pierce, Blue Demon, Junior. Were all on it, and a host of other guys. So, and then going there, because we're untouchable, we got to get drinks after the show. So we went and got margaritas, and then driving all the way back. Man, there was a mudslide off I-65. Shut down the whole interstate. Took this detour. I'm following the cars behind me, and just one by one, they start falling off. And I'm like, I didn't see a detour sign, and those look like some back roads, and I'm not turning down there. So I just kept on going, not realizing that I drove all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina, up until Asheville, all the way back down to Cherokee, North Carolina, where over by the casinos, and drove all the way up back into Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and got my way back to Nashville. So went home, took like a 30-minute nap, and worked that next Monday.
Yeah.
So brutal.
That's impressive. Yeah, man. I've done some stuff with rock and roll that's pretty similar to that, but golly, that is brutal. No. Yeah. So I applaud you for that. So yeah, man. So this is kind of the part of the show that I always like to ask this. Are there any stories that, we don't know, maybe that you want to bring up specifically?
There's lots of stories that you may not know that I can bring up to you after podcast. But I don't want to incriminate anybody here on the podcast. So, there's just so much. We didn't talk about any of the WWE stuff that I got to do.
Talk about that, man. Tell me about that. I need to know about that.
Yeah. You remember the guy who was going around and was having people punch him in the privates?
Yes.
So what was his name? Joey something.
Oh man.
Can't remember. We did a thing down in Florida when they had FCW. I think Roman Reigns was down there too. We went down there and did a spot, and then we got to do different extra stuff with WWE. I had Fandango's first match as Fandango prior to Chris Jericho wrestling him at WrestleMania. So that's not out there, but should be out there. I had Fandango's first match as Fandango. So. And
I remember you putting that over, dude. I remember talking to you about that because you were talking about how that he was super cool, man.
He was getting stitched. They were stitching his pants that he was wearing on the way to the ring.
Wow.
So yeah, it was so cool. I feel like our paths had crossed before.
Okay,
but something made it kind of seem like, hey, man, I think he was trying to figure things out because they were doing different things with him. I think he tried painting or something like that before. He had tried something else, and they were trying to figure out what gimmick can we throw on him. We have this whole box full of gimmicks. Can we just pull something out and give it to him and make it stick? Yeah. And so eventually they tried the ballroom dancer.
Oh,
there was no ballroom dancer that night. It was in Memphis, Tennessee, down at the FedEx Forum.
Yeah.
And something about, I think just like, hey, let's just go out there. This is Memphis. I said, they'll pop for this. And I said, let's do this, this, and this, this. And he's like, all right, that sounds cool. You okay, take this for this? Can you do this when I do that? I said, yeah. All right. And that was it. And we went out there and had a little match. And it was great. So, I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful too. That's how I got in the ring with Goldust, was getting to go to WWE. He was in SmackDown at Bridgestone Arena. And I remember they were trying out this, they only did it for a little bit. They had a camera that was in between the turnbuckles. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
2012, 2013, something like that. Yeah. They had a camera, and man, you know what they had? They used to have me just running spots and just see if I could blow up. Trying to blow up with Goldust, the guy who can't blow up.
Right.
And we're just back and forth. Boom, 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 boom. Bump, boom, 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 boom. Bump, boom, 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 bump. Just to try and see him make it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for that.
Dude, and so how do you get on a WWE show? How does a local guy do that?
So I first got into it through doing like an FCW tryout. that was the first way that I tried it, was to get out there, just to kind of get out there and see. I was working with Dutch Mantell and Josephus at the time. We were both working with him, and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about trying. He's like, just try it, just see what happens. So I was like, okay. So I went out there and tried it, learned a lot. And I think from there, that's kind of how my information kind of got in the system, to where I was going up, but I was going up and I wasn't a Bert guy. Right. And I think that kind of gave guys like hope of like, oh, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
We don't have to play that game, and I'm not saying, not disparaging anybody, but like, that's not a carrot that has to be dangled out for us. We can do our own thing. So that's how all that got started, was doing the FCW tryout the way the guys do it today, now with the Performance Center, going out there and doing it. And then from there, getting to do the house shows. So,
yeah. And now working with Dutch, I mean, one of my, like if we were to ask me my favorite match I ever worked, probably one of them would be getting to manage Dutch Mantell against Jerry Lawler. But I mean, Dutch was so approachable. Dutch was so available to us. Especially when he was on shows, he was right there with us. He wasn't all the way. I mean, he was right there with us, And I mean, talk about your experiences with Dutch for sure.
My first experience with Dutch Mantell is at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and he's booking the show. And he's saying, you, Derek King, you go out there against Boogie Woogie Boy, do your thing. And it says, I want you to do this and this and this for the finish. And I go, I don't feel like doing that. Just establish our relationship right from the beginning. I don't feel like doing that. Eventually, Serena pulled me aside and was like, I think you should still do that. And we did. And it worked. I was just like, that was part of that Memphis rub that I was just felt like it's just a little too much. It worked. So he knew more than I did. Man, thing with Dutch Mantell that I remember, it's always the little things you learn. Like, I remember how to have like a whole match where you could just go out there and you call it walking the dog. Yeah. And we would just go out there and just walk the dog with guys and do that, man. And I'm like, this guy, you almost think like they've been around the block. They've learned a couple of things. And you're like, well, I'm not doing all this crazy high spot stuff. And you're like, you don't have to.
Right.
And that's not what the people want either. They want you to go out there and fight. So let's go out there and walk the dog with them. Yeah. So that was a big thing for Dutch. Going to Waffle House, eating eggs before there was a surcharge on eggs with Josephus. So
Joe could put the eggs down.
He could. Man, we would go to the gym. The thing with Joe and what made it so sad was, like, for me personally, was working with him. I watched from being a cameraman, Shelby Street Brawler, to eventually what he was doing with NWA Power Hour and being friends with Billy Corrigan. And I love seeing all the tributes that happen. I love that he got like mentions on all these different podcasts and things like that. I'm like, just such a love that got poured out for him. Man, we were both in Hendersonville. We were working on a Gold's Gym together. We were parallel working out. Like, he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, but like we were always there, like pushing each other. And same thing too, like in the ring, like, how do you wrestle a guy like Seven? How do you wrestle a guy like Josephus? Man, you just go out there and you just fight, right? And try not to break a tooth. There's only one wrestler who has ever broken a tooth, Hutto, and he broke my tooth. Oh, and really? It wasn't anything he did. We were wrestling in ASW for
Mephisto, Arvil.
No, Hutto. Is that right? Mephisto?
Yeah. Was it one of the devils?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we were out there. And we just finished the match, Jeremiah Plunkett and they hit the ring. We start brawling. He grabs me, throws me against the barricade, the metal barricade on the side. Hit my tooth, come out, cracked, and the whole tooth was cracked up. No, I didn't feel it until I came back to the ring. And they're like, "Where's your tooth?" I'm like, "Oh no!"
What do you mean, my tooth?
Exactly.
That's a horrible realization, man.
And just funny stuff like that. Like for my wedding, if you look at my wedding photos, I have a black eye.
Oh my God, dude!
Night before. So I was wrestling the night before my wedding. We were doing rehearsal dinners and stuff like that. And then I postponed my honeymoon so that I could go wrestle for WWE the next night. So,
dude, that's awesome. I mean, that's a pro right there, bro. But hey, I mean, you're still married, right? You're not wrestling, but you're still married.
I'm not wrestling, but I'm still married. So one of those had to give. So, sorry, wrestling fans.
Well, Drew, I mean, first off, this has been incredible, man. And as we're kind of starting to wrap things up, obviously we have to talk about my least favorite part of the show, and that is the Untouchables breakup. What happened, man? Were you just getting a different life path going? I'm not trying to break balls here, but you know.
Well, there's differences between the Untouchables breakup and
you ending
them and me leaving. So that happened before.
Right.
And I can't remember if the reason why we broke up is just because we just need to do something different.
Yeah.
And that may have been part of it. And that was a fun time where that time was much more of like a Kurt Hennig. I was doing a different finisher at the time and allowed me to be kind of like a ring general out there for pro wrestling, for especially for the SAW area. And so that was a very like confident Drew Haskins where I could say, you know, I could go out there with anybody, just do whatever I want.
You were wearing the shooter boots and stuff. I remember that.
Exactly. Yeah. So let me have my Coors Light before my match. Let me throw a dip in, calm myself down, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And I felt like that I could do anything at that point.
Right.
So I had a lot of confidence with all that. And what happened? So eventually, too, it got to the point where for Drew Haskins to close the show was I remember I'm 8 years in, about to be 8 years in for pro wrestling. And at that point, they just now start calling you a pro wrestler after you're in for 8 years. And so I was married at the time. I think we may have been it was a year into my marriage. And my wife and I we were saying, okay, we're ready to do the family. And I had a lot of issues. So like with pro wrestling, you got to have your diet right. You got to be in the gym, and you got to be able to talk and wrestle. But the biggest thing is the diet, the gym, and the supplements. And man, I couldn't get those three things together.
Okay.
I felt like I could have been good enough to have a full-time job doing this.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of issues. I was probably drinking too much, but I never got in trouble for it. I should have.
Right.
There's a lot of stories like that, especially if you have my wife on the podcast.
Come on, tell her.
Right. I had issues with that. I became, and I think too, just trying to live like a rock star. You know, like I had this thing in my mind that I was this guy who was a rock star, and realizing all these things are what's holding me back. And at the same time, I'm in this incredible relationship.
Yeah.
And we're ready to have a family. And I wanted the family.
Yeah.
But I knew something had to go.
Yeah.
And it had to be pro wrestling. And that allowed me, within a year, I had my first match in February of 2008. I had my last match in February of 2015. And my daughter was born February 2016. I mean, just
you got busy after that.
Just laid it up. So and man, I'm on the ways. I know I've bugged Jeremiah selfishly and also too just being mean about it. But on the ways you do have the itch, and I still. I was thinking about it. I'm 36 years old for a shoot, and ideally, I would be in my prime right now.
Yeah.
We think about 10 years. 10 years not doing this.
Right.
I can imagine where I'd be at with 10 years. But
I can.
Having said all that, and also, too, wrestling got a boom. I'm so happy for these guys. I love watching Ricochet.
Yeah. Because you knew him.
I got to wrestle him. And I got to, I got to watch him from Stadium in all the way to now.
Right.
That's my guy. I got to be in the ring with Goldust. I love watching Goldust.
Yeah.
I love watching Cody.
So good. I think Goldust is better than Cody. Let's not get into that, but I'm with you, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole thing. But and I'm so happy too. Like there's NWA Power Hour, there's Ring of Honor, or at least there was. There's AEW, there's TNA, which is still like a really good, solid product. One of the better ones.
Maybe better than in a long time.
Right. And TNA and I love what's happening now for these guys. And I'm very thankful for what I was able to do at the time and the opportunity that I was given. So,
well, I'm going to say this, and please don't get offended or anything or get hurt, but I do think it is unfortunate because I do feel like you would be right there. And I think of the Untouchables and I see a team that is lauded as one of the greatest current tag teams in FTR. I personally think y'all could be right there with them. You know, I do think that. I mean, that's a genuine feeling.
Better than FTR because it's like there were you remember boy bands?
Yes,
that was a thing.
Yes,
you know, and like in the 90s and 2000s, boy bands, and within the boy bands, they used to have roles. You may not know this, but they all had their spots.
Okay.
Jeremiah and I, we each had our spots. We each knew what we brought to the table and what was going to be best. I mean, FTR, you could just swap those guys out and they could do the exact same thing.
Right.
So we would have destroyed FTR for shoot.
Yeah.
So we would destroy Team IOU for shoot. Carnies or whatever they are now.
Yes. But, that's awesome. What about, so y'all worked the Heat Seekers some though, didn't you? Because that to me is just a no-brainer.
No, did we? If we did, it may have been one. It may have been when they were first kind of getting started, but I don't know if we ever really wrestled them. We did wrestle the Bullets, Washington Bullets.
Yes, I love that. Oh my God, that was
wrestled
fun.
them and had great matches. So, and again, just another thing of like, man, these guys are just gonna be jumping up, flip flopping, flying, doing all these things, these crazy things, and these big super kicks, and they kind of almost like Young Buck-ish. With what they were doing, but very explosive, very charismatic as well. So maybe a little better than Young Bucks. I'm not trying to get a job, so.
So, you should have a job. Anyway, yeah. No, but I mean, I just think of the Untouchables as I do feel like you guys were kind of that tag team that it's one of those, because I think of like teams like, the I've watched some PG-13 Nightmares matches, and those, y'all, if you love wrestling, go watch some PG-13 Nightmares matches. Those will entertain you for days. But y'all had that slick feeling about y'all in your matches. Does that make sense? That those teams had, like I watched the Rock and Rolls and the Midnights and the Heart Foundation. You guys had that smoothness about you. And people, might say, well, you're crazy, Jimmy, but no, that's the truth. Go watch their matches.
It is. Yeah. And we did have guys who weren't smooth at all. So, and that's to our credit. I mean, that was our thing is Jeremiah wants to talk about being a hell of a hand, but that's what it was. The reason why we were a hell of a hand is because you could stick us with anybody and we would have a solid match for you. So,
yeah. Dude.
And we stayed employed.
Yeah. Exactly, and you kept finding new employment too.
Exactly,
and you were like first call for most places. I know that for a fact. So after wrestling, man, life after. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about that, but what are you doing nowadays, man? What's Drew doing now?
Working 9 to 5. I love the job that I do. But cool. Also family. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Yeah. So spend time with family. I was going to talk baseball here. My son started baseball for the first time.
Awesome.
Doing coach's pitch. So with 6U, and he enjoys playing catcher and getting hit. So he's gotten hit each of the last 3 games. So it's the hardest thing to do. I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
And beautiful wife. And I'm very blessed. I have great friends and a lot of this stuff. So,
yeah. Kroll did have a question he wanted me to ask you. He wanted to know if you still had the same watch that you had back in the SAW days.
I do. I still have it. So it's not this watch. I've won this one for the podcast, but for the podcast after hours, I'll show the old watch.
It's got a real smooth band, I've heard.
Your numbers will be through the roof.
I love it. Oh man. Oh God, Drew, we got to get you back on, bro. We got to get you back on for part 2. Let's do an Untouchables.
I was about to say it's got to be an Untouchable reunion if it's going to happen. So
that's got to be there. And yeah, man.
Let's get the Coors Light out. Let's make this for real.
I've already got it out. It's actually already out. So yeah, I got my little Yeti. Anyway, this thing is awesome. I got it for free for Coors Light points. Yeah.
I can't do light beer anymore. It makes me too gassy. I'm heavy beer all day, all day for me. So that's another reason why I can't. I'm balding. I have gray hairs now, and I drink heavy beer. It just doesn't work in pro wrestling anymore.
You can be the adult sensation now, man.
Senior sensation.
There you go. Well, like I said, we always pivot to the Plastic Sheik for his final question. Take it away, Sheik.
All right, Drew. So looking back on your career, favorite match you ever had, what would it be?
That's a tough one.
I figured.
Yeah, like one of the most memorable matches I had was with Jeremiah Plunkett. We did a steel cage match, and it was against Damian Payne.
Yeah.
I can't remember who the other guy was that was out there. Maybe Larry Cooter, Damian Payne and Larry Cooter, I think is who it was. And we did a steel cage match. It's the only time I ever bled. And so only time I pricked myself. That was a memorable match. I did it out of my eyebrow too, so nobody could tell. This is when UFC, was kind of first come along the scene. And so I was like, you know what? People see that all the time, man. That's a stop in a fight. You elbow somebody, their eyebrow cuts, the blood comes out of there, they stop the fight. We're going to amp this thing up. Prick the eyebrow, blood coming out. So, that would be one of them. Any match with Josephus would be up there. My brawls with 7, especially that first brawl with 7 would have to be up there. So,
good
man. Stuff. Was 7 pretty stiff? I mean, was he as stiff as he looked, or was he pretty good? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
He was as stiff as he looked, and we loved every minute of it. Don't change 7.
Yeah. Well, we're going to hopefully get everybody on for an NWA main event episode in the future, too, when we can figure that out. But, you know.
And you got to get the Crippler on there. We haven't even mentioned Jeff the Crippler Daniels.
Oh, dude. We'll talk about Jeff, bro.
I mean, Jeff is the best. Jeff, my favorite moment with Jeff has nothing to do with what happened in the ring. Somebody come up to Jeff when we were in the locker room one time. This was at Stadium and Hotel. Yeah. And somebody come up to him, and he said something, and Jeff, stood up, raised an eyebrow, and was like, "Did you just raise your voice to me?" Shut the kid down like that. It was amazing.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I can hear that voice too, and that Cripper voice too. Yeah. Whatever it is he says. Mm-hmm. But
Jeff was somebody I ran into way too late in wrestling. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you so much, Drew, man. It's been an honor to have you on and get to talk to you and just be with you, man, and get to chat with you, buddy. I'm so glad you look good, bro. I'm glad you're doing good.
I feel great.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. I hear a little sarcasm in that, though.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. Feel great. So,
one of
the things about muscle atrophy I've learned is I'm still 195. I just can't lose the weight anymore, man. It's stuck on there. So, it's on there for sure.
It stays, bro. It's hard. I've been trying to lose some myself, but
today's just maintenance. That's all it is. Yeah. So, I could imagine 10 more years of this, man. But maybe I'd have the money for it, and that would make it better. So, then I could just drown my sorrows like everybody else.
I'll just say this. I don't think there would have been a maybe in it, bro. But hey, the woulda, coulda, shoulda's will bother you.
COVID, who knows? Yeah.
You never know, man. Right. But I do know that we had you on the podcast today, and I'm super happy for it, and I greatly appreciate you coming on.
I'm just so happy to hear your voice.
Hey,
I can't tell you how much that does for me. So,
well, ditto, buddy. Ditto, man. Seriously. Thank you, buddy. And it's great to see you. Keep doing well. We'll get the Untouchables on. We'll do an NWA main event. I need to see Drew on the show much more. So thank you so much.
And I'll show you my old watch too. I'll bust that one out.
Okay. All right. You promise? That's for the only wrestlers. There's only wrestlers now, not just only fans. So
I did not know that. No. So we got to do this thing live. So I'll pull out the wristwatch on the live show.
Oh, dude, we need to do a live one. Yes, let's do that. Booked. All right. Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate you, Drew.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, stop by Captain's Corner, where you can get autographed photos, cards, magazines, and figures from all of your favorite wrestling superstars of the past, present, and future. You'll also be able to participate in live signings in the weeks and months to come. Make sure to stop by Captain's Corner on Facebook and give us a holler. Remember, cheers to the working man.
Oh, Sheik, one more time, one more excellent episode. Drew Haskins, thank you so much, brother. I hope you enjoyed that one, Sheik. That was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed talking to Drew. He's very easy to talk to, told good stories without us even asking him about them sometimes. That's it's always a little good to go off script when it's stories like that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We just appreciate you, Drew. Can't wait to get you back on, and hopefully we'll have you back on with Plunkett as an Untouchables episode. Either way, we'll make it happen. But thank you all again. If you want to follow us, go to @GMBMPW on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube, where you'll find out all the upcoming news and all kinds of fun stuff and Sheik shorts and clips and pictures and just all kinds of fun stuff. Come over and celebrate pro wrestling with us like we like to. We greatly thank you all for the ones that have already followed, liked, subscribed, and share, and just keep doing it, y'all. It means the world to us. We thank you so much. And next week we got a really good one, but I'm hesitant to mention it. So let's just say it's going to be an excellent guest. And yeah, Quinton's good, y'all. WKU baseball's turning it up right now, so he is in full baseball mode. So Quinton has assured us he'll be back soon, y'all. We can't wait to have him back.
Yeah, so just some scheduling conflicts at the moment. It happens, Yeah,
it happens. But anyway, once again, we thank you so much, and y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Don't forget,
it's the fight before Christmas. And your teen excitement, Drew Haskins, is going to face off against the NWA Southern Heavyweight Champion in Ace Rockwell. And Ace, Mr. Rockwell, let me be proper here. Do you think that a warm-hearted, red-blooded Nashvilleian such as myself is going to lose in Nashville, Tennessee on December the 22nd to a dirty fish steak, cheddar choo-choo dog such as yourself? Let's paint a picture for everybody at home to show just exactly what a dirty fish steak, cheddar choo-choo dog is. What you have to do to get to that point, you have to bathe. You have to bathe in the Tennessee River and just let your body soak. Soak in that water. You have to eat three square meals a day. Literally, square meals. Nothing And don't forget, in the 5 square, 3 square meals a day, Ace. Now I know what it feels like to be a dirty fish steak trying to choo-choo dog. Now I have what it takes to be the NWA Southern Heavyweight Champion. And Ace, you're a great wrestler. And you stay in the best physical shape year-round. And we all know why you are the NWA Southern Heavyweight Champion. It's cause you never have been in the ring with Dean Excitement, Drew Haskins. You've never faced me. Ace Rockwell, you're a dirty fish steak, choo-choo, choo-choo dog. You're not gonna leave Nashville, Tennessee. Dean Excitement, Drew Haskins is gonna be the NWA Southern Heavyweight Champion. I'm so excited.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
We'll see you later.
This has been a James Rock Street production.